Hello everyone, I'm Literary Freak 11 and this is Enchantment and Evolution, where I talk about science and magic, and today I'm going to be talking about centaurs. Centaurs are half man, half horse, and usually their lower half is horse, and they're part of Greek mythology, which is where they originate. In this culture, they have many god-like things that are half human and half gods. Another thing that we derive from this culture is mermaids. So why out of all of the weird creatures in Greek mythology are these the ones that have kind of stuck around and been co-opted into other universes? I think firstly it's because they aren't gods. Essentially, you're not stealing their stories in order to make your characters. Now, Egyptian mythology also has a great deal of half human, half animal gods as well. Now, the combination of mermaids as well as centaurs is weird. If you have seen this image on the internet, you will understand what I mean. Horses are precocial animals, which means that when they're born, soon after being born, they can care for themselves to some extent. They can get up and walk around independently. We see this with giraffes, and we also see this with birds who push their offspring out of the nest soon after flight. Humans are altricial, which means they can't function on their own without parental support, especially for their first few months or years, depending on the species. We see this with most primates and with birds that are born without feathers or without flight feathers that they grow in later. Fish are also precocial, which means that they are born and then they go out and function independently in the world. They find their own food and they run off of instinct. There's no parental guidance in most fish species. They just lay their eggs and let a male fish lay their sperm, and whatever gets fertilized gets fertilized. The other weird combination of fish and humans is that fish have gills and humans do not. Fish have to breathe in water and humans do not. The combination of these two species is radical and weird and may have been the result of magical experimentation. Now hear me out for a second. Humans wander through the world, any world that contains magic and centaurs or magic and mermaids, and in many of these worlds, we see that there's already a system for it. We rarely see universes where magic is found for the first time, and they develop spells and systems and powers and discover potions. Often we see universes where magic is rediscovered and there is a system that has already been in place. Let's go back into human evolution to the point hundreds and thousands of years ago where humans discovered they could do magic. We see in Harry Potter that they go back all the way into ancient times, and in fact they study ancient Egyptian wizardry at one point. If we think about the point even further back where humans first discovered to use their powers, we realize they probably had very little control over them, unlike what we see in most established universes. And humans are very creative creatures. They're always trying to aspire to new heights, and they want to know what they can do with their powers, how far their powers can reach. And if you didn't know what type of magic you had or how you could use it, you might try to, say, raise the dead. You might try to play God. You might end up in a Dr. Frankenstein scenario, or you want to see if you can create life out of something weird. So, what do? They played God and tried to combine animals, regardless of the consequences. Luna's mother in Harry Potter dies as a result of trying to create spells as part of her job for the ministry. This means that magic, if used the wrong way, is highly volatile. In any universe, the potions and spells that the characters learn are a direct result of such experiments. So does this mean that centaurs and mermaids didn't evolve? No. Just because a human facilitates the evolution in a lab experiment doesn't mean that the thing didn't evolve. We create new crops or dogs, but it's still evolution. It just means that it didn't evolve through natural selection. Instead, we selected for the genes that we wanted. If we look at mermaids and centaurs from an anthropological perspective, we see that their culture is vastly different. They're deep and involved. Being forest dwellers and ocean dwellers has particularly shaped the building of their society. I don't think that mermaids were created with siren song, and I don't think centaurs were created with the ability to use the sky to tell the future. I think those things evolved later as a mechanism to adapt to their newfound environments when they realized that they probably weren't going to be able to fit in with humans. And maybe there was a time when they tried that, but I would assume that they would be considered abominations. I also think that centaurs may have adapted their ability to see the fortune in the sky as something similar to suit their outdoor nature. Society has this can see the bigger picture, whereas humans are caught up in the myopic details here on Earth. The evolution of these magical powers is possible. I think it's plausible that someone could inherit a proficiency for a certain type of magic. You might be particularly good at fortune telling, and you might be able to pass that along. Now, the magic they use to create mermaids and centaurs might have enough genetic instability to cause the evolution of particular magical powers and to cause them to mutate. And that's how I think that the special properties that we know of as being powers associated with these two species came to be. That's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos every Wednesday, and don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me in my social media link below. I have Twitter, Minds, Gab, and Peep.